everybody. My name is Natalie Hemmens, your favorite Southern California realtor, and today I'm here to talk to you about title insurance and how it's involved in the real estate process. My special guest is Mary Guac. She's the Vice President of Lawyers Title Company. Mary, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Good
Thanks for
morning.
having me, Natalie.
Thanks for being here. So I think that most people understand when your name is on the title or your LLC's name on the title or your trust's name is on the title, you are considered the owner of the property. So I just really want to kind of start at the beginning and talk about what exactly a title company is and why it's important.
Fantastic. I think it is good to start with the basics. There is a lot of unknowns to our average consumer in the industry space, in the real estate space. A title company, a title insurance company, is an insurance company that protects homeowners of their largest financial investment in essence. So when you go to buy a piece of property, you know that you are going to get free and clear title, that the title company has cleared all debts and liens and encumbrances that could have been attached to the property or any of the previous owners. So essentially, the title insurance company ensures the new owner that the interest of the property belongs to you and only you.
Is title insurance required in the real estate transaction? Can we talk about that?
Sure. That's a really great question. So title insurance is not required by law.
Okay.
However, the big caveat is if you are a all cash buyer and you negotiate that you don't want to have title insurance, I'm not sure why any buyer would negotiate that, but transactions can take place without a title insurance policy. But the caveat is if you're going to get a loan, even if it's a hard money lender working out of the basement or, a small entity that loans money or large entities, a bank is not going to lend you money unless you have title insurance.
Okay, so when it comes to the bank getting involved, it is required, but if you're a cash buyer, it's not.
Correct.
Sometimes you hear about there's a cloud on the title, and that's kind of like a nebulous term, like, oh, there's a cloud on the title. And I think we touched on this a little bit already, but can you just explain that cloud on the title a little bit more in depth?
Absolutely. So a cloud on title really encompasses a very wide range of title issues, title problems. The very general basic way to understand it is your title is not marketable, that we can't pass clear title. And some of the best prime examples that happen most frequently is there was someone on title that is unable or unwilling to deed off. So that's where we go into kind of going back to your old example of, let's say two siblings bought it, the sister gives her interest to the brother, but it wasn't done properly. So the brother goes to sell it later on, and he needs some additional documentation from the sister. And all of a sudden she says, you know what, I don't want to do it. Or she's not locatable. So when someone who yes, well, and you know what, believe it or not, it happens more often than we realize. And because I'm in the thick of it, I see it quite a bit, whether it's family or business partners. So that would be one of the most common clouds on title. Another very common cloud on title would be if there are liens or judgments that have not been paid off, or they've been paid off, but there's no evidence of it. So that's another very, very common one that we're seeing a lot these days because we have a lot of senior citizens selling their homes and they obtained loans decades and decades ago and they've paid it off, let's say 20 years ago. They never had the wherewithal to get the proper documentation recorded and their lender is gone, out of business, or merged into another. And all of a sudden there's this outstanding loan that's still showing. So those are two of the most common clouds on title, if you will.
When you're searching through documents, what kind of documents is the title company looking through to find this information to make sure that the title gets transferred clearly?
So, one of the biggest assets of a title insurance company is our data. We essentially house all public records that are, we have to go back to infinity. Because when I insure you as a new buyer for 123 Apple Street, if that home was built in 1965, we start the search from 1965 and go to that first owner and go all the way through. So essentially, we go through a library of public documents, both against the property and the individual. So one of the things that title insurance company does that is, I think, imperative for our consumers to understand is liens and judgments are not just against the property. So you may know that there's a foreclosure from an HOA or Bank of America, but actually you could be carrying on debts from the current owner if he had some sort of a financial issue. So we're also checking the seller's financial stability, if you will. So, for example, sometimes we have family or friends that give private loans amongst one another. Someone's just kind of going through some hard times. So my brother loans me, call it $20,000, and he goes and should record, if he knows that I'm a property owner, he should go and record a deed of trust. If he doesn't record it, he does not have the rightful legal claim to get that money back from me.
Right.
I mean, from the property.
From the property, right, if it was sold, right. If the
Right. So we see people like that every now and then, and they say, oh, I heard that my friend sold their house, but we helped them with their mortgage payments a few years back, and I have this deed of trust. It's not recorded, but it's notarized. Can I go and collect? And it's no, unfortunately, if it wasn't recorded and they've already sold, the title company's done. Wow. And the escrow company's done. That person, you've encumbered a property that they don't own anymore, essentially.
Wow, that's really, really important information for people to know. One more question, Mary, as we start to wrap up a little bit. I just wanted to talk about, what does a title company charge? Does the buyer pay for the title company fees, or is it the seller that pays, or do they both pay and split it? How does that really work?
So a title insurance premium is a little different than some other closing costs. Like escrow fees, for example, can pretty infinitely be quoted as how many dollars per thousand. Title insurance, roughly, if I had to give a national average, you could assume that it's going to be a little less than 1% of the purchase price.
Okay.
In Southern California, it is customary that a seller pays for the homeowner's policy to benefit the buyer. And the buyer then, in turn, buys a secondary policy to benefit their lender. So the seller buys you a policy for the amount of the sales price. So if you're buying an $800,000 home, you are closing escrow with the $800,000 policy that can be payable to you if there are title issues. Then if Bank of America lends you $500,000, Bank of America is insured for that amount that they lent you, and you pay for that premium. So the actual title premium itself is, like I said, a little less than 1% of the sale price, and it is a one-time premium. That's also the uniqueness of title insurance. Most other insurance policies that you and I deal with on a day-to-day basis has an annual premium. But if I owned my home for 40 years and discovered that there was a cloud on title when I bought it, I still go back to the original company from when I purchased the property. Oh, wow. So it is good for life of ownership. The only time that a title policy would change would be that secondary policy that we purchase for our lender. So each time you refinance, you're buying your new lender a new policy with themselves, that new bank as the beneficiary of the loan amount.
The new loan amount.
Yes. It's a very small cost to make sure that your largest financial investment is free and clear of anything from the past. There's no skeletons that are going to come up that you're not going to be protected from if it's publicly recorded.
Yeah, that's very important to note. Well, Mary, thank you so much for sharing this information with us. I'm sure that anyone who watches this video is going to have a very clear vision of what title company does now. So thanks for joining me.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. We'll speak with you soon.